October 20th, 1981, Nyack, New York. Rush hour traffic, busy streets. An armored truck pulls up outside a shopping mall to collect cash. It's supposed to be a routine stop, but within seconds, automatic gunfire erupts. Two people collapse to the ground, and the quiet suburban street turns into a war zone. This attack would leave police officers dead, millions of dollars stolen, and expose a hidden network of violent extremist groups operating inside the United States. This is Street Justice USA, and this is the Brink's armored truck heist of 1981. Welcome back to Street Justice USA, where we uncover the real stories behind America's most shocking crimes. If you're into deep true crime with real investigations, real consequences, and real history, subscribe now and stay with us until the end. This case changed U.S. law enforcement forever. By the early 1980s, America was dealing with more than just street crime. Underground extremist groups were operating in secrecy, some driven by radical political ideologies, others by violent revolution. One such group was a splinter faction connected to the Weather Underground and the Black Liberation Army. They didn't just believe in protest, they believed in war. This group planned to finance their operations through armed robberies, not small-time theft, not convenience stores. They wanted armored trucks, targets with millions in cash and minimal time to respond. Their plan would lead them to a quiet town just north of New York City. The Brink's armored truck that day was scheduled for multiple routine collections. Guards followed a predictable route. Timing was consistent. Locations were public. To trained criminals tracking every detail, it was a perfect setup. What no one in Nyack knew was that a heavily armed team was already in position. They were carrying military-style weapons, a modded mindset, and a willingness to kill. At approximately 3 p.m., the Brink's truck pulled up outside the Nyack Mall. One guard exited the vehicle carrying cash deposits. Another stayed in the truck. That's when the attack began. Gunmen sprinted toward the guards and opened fire at point-blank range. One Brink's guard was shot and killed instantly. Another was critically wounded. The attackers grabbed the cash bags and fled to a waiting getaway van. But instead of escaping into empty streets, they drove straight into police. Within minutes, their vehicle approached a roadblock set up by responding officers in Nyack. Instead of surrendering, the gunmen opened fire again, this time with automatic weapons. 2 police officers were struck down and killed. Civilian cars were hit by bullets. Residents ducked behind buildings. The town was frozen in fear as hundreds of rounds were fired in broad daylight. The attackers crashed their vehicle and attempted to flee on foot. Some escaped. Others were captured after violent shootouts. By the time the smoke cleared, 3 people were dead. The nation would soon realize this was no ordinary robbery. FBI investigators later revealed that what followed was one of the intense manhunts in New York history. State police, local departments, and federal agents moved fast. Roadblocks were set up across multiple counties. Safe houses were raided. Surveillance teams tracked contacts tied to extremist groups. Within days, several suspects were arrested, including members of radical networks that had operated underground for years. What shocked investigators most was how deeply organized these groups were. This was not random violence. This was coordinated ideological warfare financed by crime. The FBI uncovered a network of collaborators who provided safe houses, weapons, stolen vehicles, and intelligence. Some suspects had backgrounds in radical activism. Others had direct military training. One of the most controversial aspects of the case was how close some suspects had come to blending into normal society, working regular jobs while secretly supporting violent operations. Ballistics matched weapons recovered during arrests to the bullets that killed the officers. Blood evidence, fingerprints, and informant testimony sealed the case. Several suspects attempted to flee across state lines. Some were captured within weeks. Others remained fugitives for years. The courtroom battles were intense and deeply political. Supporters of the accused packed courtrooms. Families of slain officers demanded justice. Multiple defendants received sentences ranging from decades in prison to life without parole. Some were convicted of felony murder, the legal doctrine that holds accomplices responsible for deaths during violent crimes. Over time, controversial parole decisions would later spark national outrage, especially from law enforcement communities who believed justice had been compromised. The Brink's heist changed American police training overnight. Armored transport procedures were completely redesigned. Police response to active shooters evolved. Interagency communication protocols were rewritten. This case also exposed how domestic extremism could quietly grow in the shadows, funded not just by ideology, but by blood money. From that day forward, armored truck robberies were treated not as thefts, but as potential terrorist-level threats. The Brink's heist was not just a robbery. It was an act of war on American streets. 3 lives were lost in minutes. Families were destroyed, and a quiet town was forever changed. This is Street Justice USA, where real crime meets real consequences. If this story shook you, subscribe now for more true crime from across America, and leave your questions in the comments. Do you believe justice was truly served in this case after all these years?